Good evening. I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. And there is a lot of talk that the traditionally red state of Arizona is looking a lot more purple these days. Ann Kirkpatrick is set to give John McCain a run for his money, and some say Hillary Clinton could come out on top in the presidential race here. And even more surprising, there's some speculation that the state Senate is in play. And joining us to talk about how Democrats can pull this off is Sheila Healy, Executive Director of the Arizona Democratic Party. Thanks a lot for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
Taking some time here. Now let's start with this presidential politics here. Obviously, you're expecting some big numbers here for Hillary Clinton. How are you guys going to pull this off? Obviously, you know, Arizona doesn't vote for a lot of Democrats historically. The last time it's happened was 1996, and before that, you got to go all the way back to 1948 for Harry Truman. So how are you going to pull this off this year?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that are combining this year to make it a really different kind of election cycle. I've been talking to national folks for a year now since I got to Arizona about how Arizona is on the precipice of something so big. We've seen the numbers. We've seen a shift in the numbers over the past several election cycles, demographically, ideologically, and coupled with the fact that Donald Trump is the nominee, who's tremendously unpopular with especially Latino voters. We think that there's a lot to capitalize on in terms of building a really aggressive and expansive ground game to inform voters about our candidates and why they're the best choice.
And that's going to take a lot of money. As the Clinton campaign, now we've seen reports that the Clinton campaign has been pulling some ad buys in traditional battleground states, leading to speculation that there may be some more money being spent here in Arizona. We haven't seen that yet. Are you hearing something different?
Well, the Clinton campaign has been looking for a long time at Arizona, trying to figure out, you know, if it's a worthwhile investment. And from the polling numbers over the last month and how they've shifted, they think yes, it is. So they've started last week to make a very sizable investment in the program that we're running right now. And coupled with the fact that the Democratic Party has been building this large ground game for the past year, without the most recent investment, we already had 130 staffers on the ground for several months now, knocking on doors, talking to voters, registering voters. So we only expect that to expand going forward.
I mean, a lot of people here in Arizona came out and voted for Donald Trump. Do you expect that momentum is going to carry forward here in November?
Well, I think there's also a strong anti-Trump momentum, and I think what we're seeing right now is a more divisive version of politics than we have in a really long time. We hear one candidate who's spouting really hateful and divisive rhetoric, and we hear another candidate who's I think got the wherewithal and the pragmatism to really get the job done.
Voters don't like her as well either. I mean, it seems to be this is more a referendum on Donald Trump and also a choice picking between the lesser of two evils.
Well, I definitely wouldn't call it that, and I would say that that's why it's so important to get the message out there, not only on the airwaves, but person to person, on the doors, on the phones, letting people know about Hillary Clinton, who she is, what she's about. If we can do that, there's a really clear distinction between those two candidates.
And a big block of voters who, you know, are lukewarm at best on Hillary Clinton are those Bernie backers, the Bernie Sanders supporters out there. What are you hearing from that group of voters?
Honestly, I think here in Arizona we've had a really sort of nice unification process that some states haven't seen. You know, it's been more of a struggle in certain states to get everybody on the same page together after the convention. But, you know, after the second day of the convention in Philadelphia, what I saw was, you know, people joining hands and just wanting to work hard for the nominee.
All right, let's move over. Let's talk about the race a lot of people are talking about across the country, and obviously that's Senator John McCain's bid for re-election. Ann Kirkpatrick is the likely challenger. She is leading. She's expected to win the primary here in a couple of weeks. If that happens, obviously she will be taking on John McCain. What do you expect is going to happen in that race? John McCain has been a senator here for a long time. He's very well known, and everybody knows who he is. How are you going to be able to take him down this year?
Well, if you look at the numbers, this is a neck-and-neck race, and which surprises a lot of people. But if you also look at John McCain, he's not the same John McCain that he was 8 years ago. He's not the maverick anymore. He's the same old man who's been in Washington for a long, long time now, and He's said over and over that he's supporting the Republican nominee, even though he very clearly doesn't trust him with nuclear weapons.
And Anna Kirkpatrick has brought that up, that you need somebody new, and she's talking about anti-establishment, not career politicians. But Anna Kirkpatrick is a career politician herself, right? I mean, she is now fully vested in her congressional pension. She's got 3 terms in Congress now. She's been in the State House. Why is she not a professional politician, and John McCain is?
Well, she's also one of the only candidates for U.S. Senate in the country who's running on a platform of term limits. She thinks that people shouldn't be allowed to stay in Washington as long as John McCain has, and she herself doesn't want to be in Washington for that long because, frankly, you know, Washington changes people, and I think it's really important to have a U.S. Senator that supports Arizonans.
There's a lot of criticism, though, about term limits, and particularly we've seen that here, and that criticism goes like this. It's like if you limit these politicians to a certain amount of terms, that, you know, when they leave, you lose a lot of institutional knowledge, and it hands special interests, lobbyists, other groups more power over these people who are coming in who may not know the system, may not know the issues as well as an experienced politician.
Well, I think there's definitely a debate to be had, but I think the bottom line is when you build a strong party in a state and when you build a strong bench of new candidates, that's how you keep that institutional knowledge, and a lot of that comes from the bench that we build at the state Senate level, which, as you mentioned, is also in play.
Excellent, excellent. Now, let's talk a little bit more about some of these local races here. How do you think the presidential race is going to trickle down and affect some of the congressional races that you see across here? Are there any seats that you guys are targeting this year?
Absolutely. Well, Congressional District 2 was lost by Ron Barber by 167 votes in one of the worst turnout years that we've seen in congressional or off-year history in 2014. So we're absolutely looking at that race. The primary will be over very shortly, and then we'll have a nominee to fight for. And in Congressional District 1, Tom O'Halloran.
Former Republican.
Yep. Former Republican from, you know, from the days when the party was a very different party than it is now.
I mean, how is that going to play? How is that playing out right now? I mean, that's a little bit further north. He doesn't get a lot of media attention out there. Are voters really going to trust somebody who's flipped parties like this? Are they going to trust that he's going to be a Democrat and go out there and fight for those issues? Well,
I think whenever I hear Tom speak one-on-one and in a group, I think he's got just a really strong message that resonates with me, and I think resonates with a lot of voters. He believes in, you know, the values and principles of the Democratic Party, and certain values and principles of the Republican Party of Reagan's day that just doesn't exist anymore.
All right, now let's move over to the state Senate. Now, I've heard this, you know, so many times over the years, so that, you know, Democrats might be able to, you know, get this chamber. It's been since, like, I think 1990 since the Democrats have controlled that chamber over there. How many seats do you need to flip to get control of the Senate, and which areas of the state are you targeting?
So we're looking at 3 seats. There's Ahwatukee. Sean Bowie is...
So always a tight race. Always a tight race.
Always a tight race. Then we're looking at, in District 28, Eric Meyer. He's looking to move over from the House to the Senate. He's the current House Minority Leader, and he's just fantastic, running a great campaign. And then there's Nikki Bagley in LD6, and that's a large part of that is within Tom O'Halloran's district.
But you're also going to have to defend some seats. Talk a little bit about that, because it's not just picking up seats, because there's always some swing states, swing districts that you guys hold right now that you're going to have to hold on to, and that's going to be tough.
Absolutely. One good example of that is Barbara McGuire's district in LD8. We have to do everything we can to make sure we don't take that for granted, and really we can't take any of these races for granted. We have to work as hard as we can. All
right, thanks a lot for stopping by. We're going to have to take a quick break right now, but we've got lots more to come here on Politics Unplugged. Coming up next, for sale. It's got lots of room to entertain, a big yard, and even a pool. An investment group steps up to the plate and says it's ready to buy Chase Field. Just ahead, what it would take to sell a ballpark.
Sometimes, in the heat of debate and speaking on a multitude of issues, you don't choose the right words, or you say the wrong thing. I have done that.
Donald Trump offers an apology and shakes up his campaign staff. The GOP candidate making the changes. Still ahead on Politics Unplugged.
Was this wealthy widow a victim?
He swindled me out of $3 million.
Or co-conspirator?
People say you became Bonnie to his Clyde, calling your friends up for $500,000.
Monday at 3 on 3 TV.
The news is back in the morning. No dancing anchors, no pointless chit-chat, no wasting your time. Come on over and wake up with us. Just the news you need to rule your day. Come check us out. Wake Up Arizona, weekdays 4:30 to 7 a.m.
Express Flooring knows Phoenix residents work hard. Now through Labor Day, Express will cover the labor cost to install your new flooring. Yes, the installation of your new carpet is free. Plus, save up to 67% off carpet, tile, wood, or vinyl plank. Call us now.
Show her you remember. The Jewelry Exchange has thousands of anniversary bands. Compare Tiffany's 1-carat bands for $7,300 with ours for $1,890. Half-carat bands are $249. 2-carat micro pavé $799. The Jewelry Exchange, family owned.
Celeste.
We want to return our house. It's a lemon. But it's got those vaulted ceilings.
The internet is really slow. We can't get anything done.
And I sell dollhouse furniture online.
It's her hobby.
It's a business.
Oh, you must have CenturyLink. Just get Cox. They have the same top speeds everywhere.
Everyone deserves fast.
We'll keep it.
Bundles including Cox high-speed internet start at just $99.99 a month. $100 prepaid card included.
I didn't plan for it when an SUV crashed into the back of my car. An accident is traumatic. When I made the decision to call emergency chiropractic, things finally started looking up. I got a same-day appointment, the office was comfortable, and the staff was so accommodating. Treatment cost nothing out of my pocket. Hopefully you'll never be involved in an auto accident. However, if the unfortunate occurs, call emergency chiropractic. You'll be glad you did.
Emergency Chiropractic, the smart choice following an auto accident.
If ever you're not satisfied with one of our tires, please feel free to bring it back. Thank you. Discount Tire Company.
With the 3TV Phoenix Traffic app, you can keep the time and money you lose sitting in traffic. Get live traffic conditions in the new interactive traffic map and see the road conditions for yourself from traffic cameras on all the major freeways. Get the new and improved 3TV Phoenix Traffic app.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. Selling Bank One Ballpark. That is tonight's hot topic. And with us right now to talk about this is Maricopa County Supervisor Steve Chukri. Thank you very much for stopping by here. Now, I wanted to, before we start getting into some of the more substantive issues, let's explain what exactly the Board of Supervisors did last week, because this isn't a done deal. This is just the beginning of negotiations, correct?
Excellent point. And really, it's the Board of Directors for the Stadium District, Dennis. The Stadium District was created when Chase Field, at the time Bank One Ballpark was created, to be the governing body over this. So what the Board of Directors did for the Stadium District is basically set in motion the potential to sell the Chase Field for $60 million to a private investor.
And this is for $60 million, correct, is their offer that they're putting on the table.
That's correct.
And this is for a stadium that was built nearly 20 years ago, 18 years ago to be exact, for about $354 million.
Right.
Now, a lot of people are going to look at this and go, why would the county want to take that deal, and aren't the taxpayers maybe getting ripped off here?
Well, and it's understandable that they would say that, especially when you go in and you see the stature of the field and the girders and everything else. But selling a stadium is a unique entity. It's a unique thing. We all think our personal homes are probably worth more than they truly are. But in this case...
But homes appreciate in value.
Homes do. And look, I grew up in the car business, and cars depreciate a lot. Stadiums depreciate even more. And so what we have here is, yes, we had a big investment back almost 20 years ago, but what you see in depreciation in the land underneath the stadium is far different for a stadium than it is any other kind of commercial real estate venture. And so what we're focused on is, look, the $60 million, you, taxpayers, everyone has a right to look at that number and say, why? What I think is going to be fleshed out here is when the appraisal comes in, we'll know what that real number is. But more importantly, Dennis, is the amount of money that the taxpayers aren't going to have to put into the stadium going forward. And you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to come together, bring a solution that says we want to keep the Diamondbacks downtown beyond 2027, and we don't want the taxpayers to have to pay for it. We prefer private investors to do that.
So when is this appraisal going to occur? Because I've only heard some talk about it was appraised several years ago at just for a $5 million. So when is this new appraisal going to happen?
It's going to happen very soon, and let me explain why. When we're trying to act as a new governing body in Maricopa County at the speed and likeness of business, that means that we're not going to spend any dollars until we know we have a deal. Why would we spend taxpayer dollars on an appraisal if we're not certain the team and this new buyer can work out an agreement? So as we get reports back that things are working in a positive direction, we then will flip the switch and say, proceed with the appraisal, and we expect that to take about 30 to 45 days.
So why is the county moving forward here on its first unsolicited bid? Shouldn't the county be going out and then looking, maybe putting out a request for proposal, seeking out other buying groups? Because if you got $60 million unsolicited, who knows?
Right.
Maybe there's another group out there willing to pay $70, $80, $100 million out there that you're not reaching out to.
Right. Well, I know what the digits are in my checkbook. I'm sure you know what the digits are in your checkbook. $60 million is a lot of money to any average entity, to even a lot of businesses. And so that's also a very fair question. We have to meet two metrics with this deal. One, the team has the right to negate it. Two, it has to be sold at an appraised value. Since it is within the district, an RFP process isn't necessary. We have some other guidelines that we're looking at, like AG opinions and the like, that show that we don't have to do that. But that's not a cop-out. My question is, where has anyone else been? They've had 4, 5, 6 years to come and offer. They know that these issues have happened.
There's not been a for sale sign out there.
No, there hasn't been. No, you're correct.
So why not go out there? Because if $60 million is a lot of money, what if you could get $120 million out of that and double it? That's even more for the taxpayer.
I think in theory that probably sounds very good. In reality, it's not going to happen.
Well, you're not going to know unless you try.
And what you have to look at, Dennis, is you have to look at who are these entities willing to buy it. What are they going to be able to do with the stadium? We have a due diligence process, and we have a fiduciary responsibility as a board, as a stadium board, to make sure that we're not, who are we selling this to, right? And the people we're selling it to are guys that have written books on stadium. The chairman of Fannie Mae. Credibility doesn't get much higher than that.
Well, I mean, you know, your fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers, looking out for their best interests. I mean, some people might say that might include going out for an RFP. That might include seeking a better buyer instead of taking the first unsolicited offer out there for this thing. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people who would even want to sell their house that way, let alone a big asset like a stadium.
Look, I think when you said, you know, I grew up, born and raised here in Arizona. And I can appreciate that. I don't think there is any perfect deal out there. But I can also tell you, homes have sold without going on MLS. I mean, a lot of transactions have sold without having a lot of other offers. I understand that this is in the public sphere. But I also understand the calls that I'm getting and the emails I'm reading. Hey, they want to see this possibility go forward. Why? Because gone are the days of taxpayer-funded coliseums, stadiums, and fields. And that's what's so attractive to us about this.
Let's talk about taxpayer and taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Currently, obviously, it is a government asset, so you know government cannot tax itself. Once this is sold to this private group, are you going to demand that they get put on the tax rolls?
Well, then that's an excellent question. And if you read in the LOI, you will see no tax abatement. You will see no GIPLET. I'm sure your viewers don't know what GIPLET is, but that's another construct for
government leasing size tax.
Yeah, exactly. See, he's very smart. So that's another good reason. And
but that could always be put in later.
It could always be put in later. But here is again my personal belief as one supervisor, as one member of the board of directors. If we're truly going to operate government in a business type mindset, you don't hop and skip over what you want and don't want. And so I was adamant on day one, if we sell this structure, there will have to be some kind of tax income coming into the county, coming into the county taxpayers. If we're going to put this on the private rolls, some form of taxes are going to have to come in, and I still believe that now.
Okay, so two quick things then. And as a member of the Board of Supervisors there, are you going to make a pledge there right now that you will demand that they are put on the property tax rolls?
I will continue and stand ready to say taxes from this transaction will need to come in the future.
Okay.
Now, do we need to get creative if they start to build and they're putting $150 million into this one asset? Do we have to say, look, do we need to punish them with more taxes? No, I don't think so. But I think something fair and balanced, Dennis, is warranted here.
All right, and last question, what are you hearing from the Diamondbacks on this? Because they have the ultimate veto power in this. What do you hear?
They do. We haven't heard anything, and I don't think that's necessarily bad news. What we've heard is they're going to work with this buyer. They're going to talk, and they have questions for this buyer, and they're going to work out a deal. They're going to do the best they can. And so they have met each other. And they're going to continue ongoing discussions, and we're hopeful that that's going to bring about a positive solution.
All right, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
We're going to have to take another break here. We have lots more to come and talk about here on Politics Unplugged. Donald Trump says you're fired and hired. The GOP candidate makes some big changes as the race for the White House heats up. Plus, politics and pillow talk. How some back support has become a campaign talking point. Still ahead on Politics Unplugged.
These days, we're always connected. But when do we take time to really connect? Peter Piper Pizza is the perfect place for some family FaceTime, where you can check in with each other. Sharing is done in person, and social has nothing to do with media. Unplug and reconnect at Peter Piper Pizza. Double your delight at Peter Piper Pizza. Right now, get 2 large one-topping pizzas on handmade dough for just $22. It's 2 for $22. Peter Piper Pizza. Everyone grab a slice.
You paid too much for those glasses.
Who?
You. Designer frames? Well, so are these. And these. And these. And they all cost less than those.
How?
America's Best. Where 2 pairs of designer glasses and a free eye exam start at $69.95. Get ready to
turn some heads.
Save money.
That's good, too.
The designer sales event is not just a better deal, it's America's Best. Hurry, sale ends soon.
There is a place, unlike anywhere else on Earth, where you can walk among red giants. A place where your spirit will soar and your heart will race. Where a simple stroll can turn into the adventure of a lifetime. A place where you can become small and mighty all at once. Sedona. The most beautiful place on Earth in so many ways.
The Honda Summer Clearance Event is here with incredible deals on the 2016 CR-V. Loaded with standard features like Bluetooth hands-free link and a multi-angle rear-view camera, it's no wonder the CR-V was named a Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com Best Buy for 2016. Hurry in to the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal at your local Honda dealer today.
Thanks for letting us come into your home each week. We pray for you, and we're believing that you're going to see God's goodness in amazing ways. Stand still, and you'll see God deliver you. When you remain at rest, Almighty God fights your battles. Everybody around you is going to have no doubt the God you serve is an awesome God. I'll promise you this, every time you turn us on, we're going to try to inspire you, to challenge you, to help you become all God's created you to be.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. It is now time to talk it out with our partners from First Strategic, and with us today is Kurt Davis and Barry Dill. And I want to start with you, Kurt. You're a fiscal conservative kind of guy. Let's talk a little bit about the Chase Field deal. Is this something that is good in the best interest of the taxpayer right now?
Absolutely. I actually think it's a bold move, and that's to get the stadium into private hands. That will be unusual, although starting to occur more often.
Yeah, and even not going out for an RFP, you think that's in the best interest? Should they be going out looking to see if there's another group out there willing to pony up more money?
Dennis, look, the value of that property is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. And this is not without precedent either. Look at the new LA stadium is all privately, financed. They didn't go to the taxpayer for any money to Supervisor Chukri's point, the days of just taxpayer-funded stadiums, I think, are a thing of the past.
All right, I want to keep it with you. You heard our first guest here, fellow Democrat, talking about Arizona.
She did a great job,
going more and more purple. Is this something that's really realistic? Specifically, taking back the Arizona State Senate. I mean, that seems like a pretty big monumental task.
Well, my expectations would be even if it just ended up 15-15 would be a great, a great jump forward. And the hinges in District 28, which is the race between Representative Myers and Representative Brophy McGee, that's really going to determine one way or the other. And it is possible, if Trump proves to be as big a drag down ticket as we think that he's going to be, that you have to assume will happen in order for Arizona to go purple or blue. All right, interesting that you bring up Trump, because we've got a Trump question here, Avi. Week after week, we keep talking about this. Now he's shaking up his campaign. It looks like his chief strategist, Paul Manafort, is out. He's got some new people coming in. Is this going to work? Is this reset going to work?
It's not going to change much of anything, because Donald Trump's not going to change. But I did want to say, too, about this whole thing about the Democrats this year in Arizona. I'm going to be looking for unicorns in my front yard this morning. I heard more licorice and poppycock than I've heard in a long time. And in that. But no, the campaign's not going to change because Donald Trump's not going to.
Well, I mean, the state is changing, and there's a big effort right now amongst Hispanic groups to go out and register voters. Their goal is 100,000. 100,000 is just the local ones. This is not does not include a national group that is also working out here.
Just not to be totally partisan, we've been trying this for 30 years. Again, I still think it centers on how badly Trump's negatives are. Trump doesn't appear to have any interest in lowering his own negatives. The whole effort is just to try to raise Hillary's negatives as much as possible. It's going to take a lot of effort. I think it's going to take, crossover voters are, I think, just as important in this particular election cycle as are in any other particular demographics that traditionally would vote Democrat.
All right. Now, speaking of immigration, this past week, Trump added some details to his stance on immigration and terrorism. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
In addition to screening out all members of the sympathizers of terrorist groups, we must also screen out any who have hostile attitudes toward our country or its principles, or who believe that Sharia law should supplant American law.
What is your initial thought when you hear something like that?
He's, again, he's stoking the fires of a public that is is not happy with our current immigration laws. I mean, I don't always agree with the tactics he uses, but the bottom line is that he's playing on an issue that people do care about.
Yeah. Here's what tickles me. So I'm a terrorist, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to immigrate into the United States so I can create terrorism, and I'm going to flatly state to the INS officer at the gate, yes, I believe in I believe our law is superior to American law, and I'm going to
radicalization occurs most often after immigration takes place.
All right, now Donald Trump also said something very unusual last week here. I want to take a listen to a little bit of this.
Sometimes in the heat of debate and speaking on a multitude of issues, you don't choose the right words, or you say the wrong thing. I have done that, and believe it or not, I regret it, particularly where it may have caused personal pain.
Trump apologizing. What is it? Is this going to work? Is this part of the newer, improved version of Donald Trump?
In the sake of time, no.
I'm looking forward to seeing those unicorns again in my front yard tomorrow. I have a question for you, though. When are we going to talk about how the media did a head dance on George Bush for not showing up at Katrina, and we say nothing about Barack Obama being on vacation and not showing up in floods in Louisiana?
Can I answer that, please?
That's my question for the media.
Two completely different circumstances.
Here's the excuse.
They are still rescuing people down there.
That was what George Bush said.
And the governor said to the president,
I will interfere.
The governor said to the president, please don't come right now.
I need to interrupt because we did tease this here coming out of the break here. I got to talk about Pillowgate, where Donald Trump is questioning the physical stamina of Hillary Clinton, and therefore questioning whether or not that she can defeat ISIS.
Yeah, we're going downhill quick.
Yes, going downhill quick. So what do you think about that accusation that he's making out there, that she can't defeat ISIS because he's questioning her medical history?
It is buzzing out in Twitter land, and it does, every election, the health of candidates comes up. Is it going to stick? No.
I have pillows around me all the time to help cushion my sore back and all those type of things, and no one questions whether or not my stamina is up to question. So I think it's a lot to do about nothing.
The only people that care about that are the vice presidential candidates who every day will be checking in on the health of the president.
It may improve their lot in life.
All right, that's all the time we have this week for Politics Unplugged. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.